Just about there. Okay, let's bring that in a bit more. If you can stand, yeah. Okay, oh, it's the delay. That's what's happening. Okay, have you got us? Sorry about the start, but let's just make sure that we've got our voices.
Yeah, and my voice as well.
Check, check. I'm with Kate.
Hello.
Looks like a nice day, down under morning. Nikki, hooray. I hope things turn around for you. Okay, yep, g'day, hello. So you've got us loud and clear then? Good to see you too. Yes, yes. Well, thank God for that. I'll tell you what, it's just a bit difficult at the moment. We've got a heat wave coming and it's like already, it's only 9 in the morning and it's already feeling like midday.
Oh,
I'm sweating a river here.
and I've got this on to try and protect some sort of my skin, but it is absolutely crackingly hot.
And I know I haven't got a hat on, but we've got an umbrella up here, which isn't doing much except protecting the camera.
Exactly.
But I've sunscreened up
Yep.
all over the place, even on the top of my head. So I'm protected, but I'm not wearing a hat because I'm hosting, and at this...
You want to see his face, come on.
Exactly. So that's the reason. But yes, I know I should be more sun safe.
Oh, no.
But I am doing that. So, right, well, now that everything is working fine, finally, unfortunately, we had a bit of a delay trying to log into the software. And this is all new for me, but I've been trying to get this live stream sorted out for, 18 months now, and we're slowly getting better and better every time we do it. And this is the second time I've been lucky enough to have Kate along to be able to go live with me right from the veggie patch. And today, like the thumbnail said, we're going to be talking about primarily tomatoes and cucumbers, but not just that exclusively. We'll be talking about some dietary tips, some nutritional tips, and those type of things. If you don't know Kate, she's a bit of a celebrity nutritionist, dietitian. Is that what they call you?
Dietitian,
on
yeah,
channel,
dietitian.
on the TV.
Yeah. Small here in Australia, but I've been around a long time, so yeah, they use old gals like me.
Bit of a TV star, but she's got over 30 years of knowledge in dietary stuff.
In nutrition. Yeah.
Nutrition, that's it. Hey, that's a kookaburra, by the way.
I know, you can't half tell we're in Australia.
Yeah.
Like there's kookaburras, there's cockatoos, it's beautiful.
Now, I was going through my Instagram feed the other day. I haven't run this by you, so I know
Great.
you're a friend, so I can do it. But the comedian says, you know what, a dietitian is like one of those friends who's always giving you advice about things that you already know.
Exactly, in an annoying way.
Yeah.
And like staring down the barrel looking at your dinner plate.
And I actually had a laugh at that. And I thought of you straight away. But you know what? Kate is not annoying. She is a friend as well as a dietitian. But I tell you, you're going to find some information coming out of her mouth today that that you wouldn't have known. And I guarantee it, because the stuff that Kate knows from all this years of experience, and combining this with the veggie garden, I really just love it. The last time we had a chat, it went really well. We got a lot of good information out of Kate, and so might as well just get straight into it and start talking about things. So with this heat and everything like that, you can see behind us, we've got corn growing, rosella, and they're starting to flourish. It's the hot summertime here in Australia. Behind that though are cucumbers and tomatoes, which are starting to sadly pass away. It's at the end of their days because it's just getting too hot for them to survive here. But the transition is really interesting in a subtropical climate. If you're looking around the world. You might have South Africa, you might have Florida in America. Those types of climates, instead of going into a deep freeze, which a lot of people are going to in Europe, the UK, in North America, Canada, they're all going into the deep freeze. Instead of sort of chopping it off and that's it, maybe packing your veggie garden up, or even growing in a warm grow tent or something, or indoors, we can just transition into the warmer climate type crops, like corn, like rosella, like gourds, like okra. Those types of plants do really well through our hot summers. But anyway, that's enough of me talking for a bit. I guess, well, we've also got a few treats to try. So what we've made from cucumbers and tomatoes, and also a few remedies that Kate has made up to help with your tomatoes and with some specific diseases. So I think we should start. Which one do you think we should start on?
Well, I mean, start with the tomatoes. I think last time when I was here, just everything that you were growing and everything that, Mark does grow is in such a plentiful supply. And, with families of 4 and sometimes 5 and 6 here in Australia, you can't get through all your supply. And once it hits those vines, you're picking things off. What to do with leftovers? What to actually, how do we freeze dry them? Do we air dry them? Can you semi-dry them? Do you pickle them? Do you put them in vinegars? Do you put them in salty brines? So, I guess, look, I'm your science geek. I love science. I disappear down a rabbit warren of information, and I try to find things that, how to use in plentiful supply. So, which you've done for years.
Yep.
So tomatoes, I reckon, start with your tomatoes because you grow them beautifully.
Yeah, well, they're on the way out now. So a good thing to do with your tomatoes, if you've got a glut of them, and I can just go behind here and
pick a couple off.
Pick a couple off.
I know, I'm the person who comes to his place and just goes around and eats everything.
And you've got some larger cherry tomatoes here, and then these are the oval type tomato, like a bell shaped.
Yep.
And you can already see that they're actually suffering a bit because they've got a bit of sunburn on them, but they're still perfectly edible and all that. But this is the time when you can take them off and you can make sauces and you can dry them, dehydrate them, and I believe you have a few examples of that.
Yeah, so basically I took some tomatoes last time, and look, I'm lucky enough, my husband's an ex-chef, so he loves dabbling in kind of anything to do with food and storing food, etc. So he semi-dried some of your tomatoes in a lovely olive oil, so you can see.
Oh, the ones that I gave you?
Yeah.
Oh, really?
Yeah, so these are your tomatoes.
Oh, cool.
And in a nice olive oil, so not just a vegetable oil, so this is like an extra virgin olive oil, but you can get whatever you like. And this goes beautifully on pizzas, it stir fry through your pastas, and that will stay like that for months and months and months, because in the oil you're not going to get oxygenation, you're not going to get kind of a spoilage, and the bacteria won't live in there. I mean, eventually it may, but when you put this, like the thing is, we put this in the fridge, and olive oil is a monounsaturated fat, so at room temperature it's lovely and oily, but there's all fats and all oils have a degree of saturated fat, monounsaturated fat and polyunsaturated fat. The olive oil is a lot more mono, but it actually went like a bit more solid, and so that's the saturated fat, the minute amount in there, just solidifying inside the fridge. So as soon as you take it out, it's absolutely fine.
So it puts some people off because it goes like a lard over the whatever produce you've got, either olives or, but so that's why commercial places, they will often just add canola oil. They might not even have any mix of olive oil at all, and then in the fridge it stays liquid. But I don't think it's as good for you, is it?
No.
Olive oil is much better.
It's got sort of bioactive properties and things. And look, the Italians, and the Europeans have been eating it for years and years and years, centuries.
And so what they do is they typically, before a function or when they're going to eat, they will put the olives out on the table, just half an hour before, and then it'll liquefy again, and it won't have that fatty look about it.
No.
Yeah.
And look, you know, with your tomatoes, your eggplant, your zucchinis, your squash, and even like, you know, your cucumbers that you sort of pickle, this is a lovely antipasta platter. It's a nice thing to dress up a platter with cheese and biscuits, but having some vegetables on there that still have lovely fibre and antioxidant properties as well. So, you know, I just love these. And that was really only, I think, about 2 of your tomatoes, and it filled a jar.
Can I have a taste?
Yeah, of course you can.
Do you want to? You can use fingers if you want. I have got a fork.
There you go.
You get one out. And so Paul made these, did he?
Yeah. So he would love to know that you're trying them.
This is live, people. This is a live tasting. Everything could go wrong here. I could choke.
You could choke or like, yeah. We've been friends for many years, so I'm not going to do anything. What do you think?
Oh, they're really good.
They're not,
There's not too much salt on them. You know, you can get some commercial ones that are salted to hell.
Yep.
And it's probably to preserve them longer.
It's nice to leave people to salt their own things because not everybody has a really salty palate. And
yeah. No, that's delightful.
So that's
well done,
one.
Paul.
That's one. Now this
if you're
one
watching, Paul, well done, mate.
He's probably sitting there going, "Oh my God, he's just addressed me on the camera." So these are full dried tomatoes, so you don't eat these ones.
Okay, what are you doing with these?
You don't eat these ones straight out because these are dry.
Yeah.
So these ones, you know, you put on focaccias because you don't want a lot of oil and slop on sort of like, you know, we make some bread and sourdough.
So what do you mean by full dried?
This is actually, we've got an
dried
air dry.
till crispy.
Yeah, so it is absolutely, it will
so
snap.
It's not, till a snap.
To a snap, so you've got rid of all the... So you're probably missing all the vitamin C because vitamin C travels with water, so there'll still be a little bit of vitamin C, hopefully, in some of the more semi-dried.
Yeah.
But these go beautifully, you know, dressing up like a focaccia, a panini, you know, a pizza, those kinds of things. So it's still, I mean, you can try one if you like. It's just, it's a different, so it's got a crunch to it.
It's, it's kind of... What would you say?
It's like a biscuit.
Yeah.
It's like a tomato biscuit. So it'll be a lot more chewy.
Yeah, really chewy.
But, you know, it's getting towards that kind of strap, like a lot of people do fruit straps and things. So, but it's still, like, it's just...
Good for kids.
Yeah, absolutely. And look, especially if it's on their, you know, their rolls and their something that's got a little bit more liquid in there as well. So, yeah, they're 2 ways that...
I'd probably cut them up with the scissors.
Yes.
And then you sprinkle them on your focaccia. Is that what you mean? You wouldn't have them whole like that?
No, but when you cook them in there, especially with, you know, you drizzle with olive oil, they do soften up and again. And they last. They'll probably last longer than these ones will.
Okay.
So the more dry things are, the longer they will last. And it's just, you know, it's a shame. You've got all these beautiful tomatoes and really at the moment, tomatoes are like, they used to be $2.99 for like a small little punnet. They're up to $5, $6. So we're really finding that prices are skyrocketing because of our weather and because there's been some destruction with storms and things. So looking at this, you know, there's still, you know, $100 worth of tomatoes on there, and it'd be lovely to, you know, use those ones.
So while we're sticking with the tomatoes, did you want to go on with the remedy that you've made?
Yes.
So this is interesting because I've always, well, not always known, but I used a lot of eggs. We got chickens, so crushed eggs in the garden, especially for tomato plants, and all other veggies, to be honest, but tomatoes in particular, because there's some specific diseases that can really ruin your tomato crop that can be easily solved by using some crushed eggs. But I'll hand it over to you.
Well, unlike your beautiful tomatoes that they thrive, and I looked at, like last time when I was up here, I was looking underneath every single tomato, and Mark's tomatoes don't have any of that. What's it called?
Blossom end rot.
Blossom end rot.
Yeah.
Now we have, so I think the reason we get on in terms of garden is because we are the complete opposite. We have like a very small little, which, you know, I can post a picture of it because we've got lots of tomatoes on there at the moment.
Yeah.
But it's just a little garden bed on a deck. And every single time these tomatoes get to almost ripening, they get this brown, this yellowy brown thing at the bottom. It just looks like it's moulding. So it's obviously rotting at the end. So I did my research, asked you, and you said, look, it's about, you know, the eggshells are really, really good.
Yeah.
So basically I dried some eggs, so I just used the eggs, put them in the same drying thing that I use with the tomatoes, dried them down, blitzed them up in a coffee grinder, and then mixed them with a little bit of sodium bicarbonate in, and if you want the recipe you can sort of put it on the website, because the calcium carbonate makes the calcium in the eggshells more absorbable into the soil. And because we've got such a small little area, I wanted it to get right into the roots as quick as possible. So we've put it in there, and so far so good. There was no end like that.
And you had a real problem with blossom end rot.
Exactly.
All the time.
All the time. We would have to get them off there when they were still green, and I wanted them to vine ripen because I wanted to see the taste and the smell. And so far so good. There's no end rot.
See, I've always just sprinkled the crushed eggs underneath the tomato plants, for example. I've never used the soluble type of mission that you've done. And with the bicarb, that just helps to get that calcium out and then make it more soluble so that when you water it in, it actually gets into the roots. And you were saying it's actually absorbed by the roots and then it strengthens the cell walls, including the fruit. Yeah. And then that helps to prevent that fungi that causes the blossom end rot at the end of those tomatoes.
Absolutely.
And get up close and just have a...
So this is my eggs that I've actually ground right down. So it's almost like a powder, but when you put that in water, it floats to the top like a grainy sand. But as soon as you add the sodium bicarbonate, it mixes through and then it becomes sort of like this creamy, milky kind of suspension. So look, again, I'm learning. Like I'm certainly not a food technologist. So, you know, a chemist or a food technologist out there, if I've got this wrong, let me know. But you know, that's in my reading, that's basically what I found. And like you said, the calcium has got ways of being antifungal, but it also strengthens the cell walls.
Yeah, so it's more of a supplement that helps keep the plant strong to ward off the disease. Yeah. And this is the whole thing about organic gardening. It's my number one tip when I'm doing organic gardening tips is healthy plants is how you prevent pests and disease. Yep. It's not spraying and it's all about the healthy plants, because pests and disease are programmed to take out the weakest individuals. And it doesn't always happen that way, but it often happens that you will have the pests. I've got a great example in the back of the garden. There's a whole bunch of kale plants, and I don't know how they're still going, but I love the kale. Hail the kale. But one of them, because you see them flying around, you might even see a few now, but there's the white butterfly, the moth that it produces a grub, and they come around and they'll lay especially on brassicas and cabbages and that. They love them, but they'll often target the weakest plant. So I've got about 8 kale plants back there, and one of them is covered in these grubs, which I have left, and it's almost becoming a skeleton. The rest of the plants, nothing wrong with them. So I'm leaving that plant as a sacrificial plant. Yeah, it sounds terrible, doesn't it?
He's going down for everybody else.
Sounds terrible, but then more insects are drawn to that one plant because it's dying and it's something wrong with it. Meanwhile, you can still not have to put any sprays or anything on those other plants. And it just proves to me all the time that healthy plants is the best way to ward off pests and disease. And you keep your plants healthy by making sure that they're watered properly, that they're grown at the right time, that you're giving them supplements that they need. Micronutrients, trace elements are all extremely important. Not just a whole heap of fertilizer to make them grow big. You know, you also need to add those small things in there that the plant needs for those special things for its immune system to ward off disease and pests. So, yeah, that's cool.
And that probably leads me very nicely into another topic of so this is probably moving a little bit away from like your vegetable gardens, but my sort of indoor plants and outdoor plants and things. I looked at what is a good way of kind of helping if they're starting to look like they've got some sort of disease. And milk keeps showing up in all my feeds. Put milk in, dilute it down using milk. The
milk spray?
Yeah.
Well, that runs in nicely with cucumber. Oh. Because cucumbers have... They'll get a white type of powdery mildew, it's called.
Okay.
But it's like a white fungi that attacks the leaves, and especially in the humid conditions like now, if you want to get more longevity out of it, organic gardeners will dilute some milk in water and they'll spray it over the leaves, and it somehow protects the plants. I'll let you explain how it protects them.
Well, this is the segue into like the mammal world. Milk, gardeners use it all the time, but I looked into what is it about milk that is actually some sort of protection. And milk has an antimicrobial factor, or has lots of antimicrobial factors, so antifungal, antibacterial and antiviral, especially in the wild when little mammals are born, like little, cows, sheep, etc. In the colostrum, which is the first part of mother's milk, which is from mammary milk, there is a very high degree of these antimicrobial property proteins. They're called peptides. So I'm thinking, now again, I'm just trying to kind of tie the two together. Is there something about these antimicrobial peptides and properties in the milk that's actually also helping in the plants? Because a lot of the indoor plant, people on YouTube, etc., say put, a quarter milk with 3/4 water and spray kind of any of your indoor plants. And I've done that to my sort of various ones I've got inside. They seem to be doing better. They seem to be doing a lot better. I've put it out in my olive trees, which are in pots as well, and there was lots and lots of bugs and pests. So I'm just wondering if anyone knows, am I on the right track? Am I on the right track saying that milk has antimicrobial properties, so it's actually helping to fight off fungus and bacteria in your plants?
That is what I've heard. Yeah, I've heard that's the reason. It's that antibacterial type, properties of milk that helps the leaves. But I didn't know the peptides and the in-depth explanation. I just sort of went, well, it works. Yeah. I didn't know really why, except for the bacterial properties.
Yep.
And yeah, it makes sense, doesn't it?
But it's also got calcium in it as well, so milk with a high degree of calcium. So probably, and again...
And that might help if it's dissolved by the roots and the leaves.
So it's coming up
and
from
then
below.
Similar to eggshells.
Yeah. And all we're doing is we're trying to use non-manufactured pesticides to help in the garden, because you can pour that straight on. You know that you don't have to wash things off. You know that you're not sort of transferring pesticides in the air like a lot of people, like yourself. If you had people who are gardening around you spraying all the time, that's coming over as an airborne thing. So again, we're fighting pests, but in a very gentle, natural kind of way. So
I mean, getting off topic a little bit, but do you come across you want to limit the amount of chemicals that we absorb? We're exposed as humans to so much more chemicals than we ever used to be, hey?
Yep.
So I'm thinking, if I'm gardening totally organic, that way me and my family, we're limiting the amount of chemicals that we're getting exposed to, but we're getting exposed to chemicals anyway. If you eat out, you might have food that's not organic, or even if you eat cereal, I don't know, if you're at a restaurant and it could have glyphosate in it, so we're getting bombarded with all this, not just pesticides, it's things in the water. I even, did you hear that thing about estrogen in the water?
What?
Yeah.
Oh my God.
In the water supply?
No.
That was just something I heard the other day. We won't get into that,
no,
because that might get really terrible.
Exactly.
But anyway, in general, should we try to be living a cleaner life because we're getting exposed anyway?
Look, just from a dietitian's perspective, eating core foods, eating lots of fibre-rich foods, this beautiful stuff as well, limiting your exposure to sort of chemicals such as, lots of alcohol, nicotine, too much caffeine. But as an Italian, God, I can't cut the coffee out. That coffee in the morning is so delightful. But also you've got to remember here, which is you're in the middle of nowhere, so depending on comparing it to me, where I'm in a city where there's trucks and there's fumes, but also hairsprays and hair colorants. We are exposing our body to a lot, but I guess we're giving it the best chance of fighting that using really fresh vegetables, etc. But a lot of those chemicals and pesticides, etc., like you said, the glyphosate, it is changing our gut biome, and so it's a passion of mine to look after the healthy gut bacteria, which is your lactobacillus and your bifidobacterium. I mean, that's 80% of that is in the first part of your gut. So, you know, sorry to be like very sort of, you know, confronting here, but if you're pooping well with very little wiping, you're doing good.
Yeah, well, yeah, that's great, isn't it? Where do I go from there?
Really, back to like tomato. But yeah, sorry about the poop
Thanks,
talk,
Kate.
but yeah, exactly. That's why
And then you look at me.
You don't ever sit at a dinner table with a dietitian, because we quite often get onto that. But no, you were talking about...
How can I segue from that?
Cucumbers.
Yeah.
Doesn't make you...
Okay,
Yeah,
okay, I've got it. Lactobacilli,
yes.
Cucumbers, fermentation. I was going to give you a taste test of fermented cucumbers, because we had a ton of them. Had about 8 jars of fermented cucumbers.
Yep.
Unfortunately, the boys ate them all.
Oh, nice one,
Every
boys.
single
Thank
one
you.
of them.
Right.
But I do have some ones that I've cured in vinegar.
Yum.
A butter pickle and also just a normal one. It's not too vinegary. I could give you a taste test of them.
That'd be lovely.
But first of all, do we talk a little bit about fermentation and how that could be an easy way, maybe from your own home garden, no pesticides, no chemicals, but also you're fermenting that food to get it into your gut?
Yes. Yep.
So that you can poop better?
So you can poop it. See, now you're talking poop. So fermentation, it's been around for centuries. Like, you know, the Romans used to ferment their food because it basically helps it to last longer as well.
Oh, yeah.
But modern day food technologists and investigators and researchers have discovered the type of bacteria that naturally resembles our lactobacillus or bifidobacterium, and they've grown it on something outside. So things like kefir, kombucha, sauerkraut, you know, the Germans have been doing that. Hopefully I've got the right sort of, the Germans have been doing that for centuries. And what it is that when you see the bubbling and you can taste the little sort of like, you know, effervescence on the foods, you're growing the bacteria that naturally resembles your gut. And so that's called a probiotic. It's a bacteria that's grown outside of the body that you take in to add to the numbers in your gut.
That's cool. That's a great explanation too.
It's really good, because we've got a lot of things that kill off our lovely bacteria in there, like antibiotics. But you still need to then have your beautiful food that is lots of rich in fibre and rich in resistant starches to act like a prebiotic. So prebiotic feeds bacteria. That's all the science, otherwise I'm becoming very nerdy and people go, oh,
yeah,
I'm switching off.
No, we don't need that. Yeah, a lot of the time we don't. I mean, if you want to really dig deep, you can research that type of stuff.
Absolutely.
But for me personally, I don't even need to go that deep. I'm just happy to know what you just said, basically.
Just ferment.
Then, okay, so what about then the vinegar? Like, vinegar has some good qualities about it too, doesn't it?
Yeah.
So is it acetone or acid? What's in vinegar that is good
like
for us?
acetic acid.
Yeah.
And look, vinegars, like, you know, people take a teaspoon of apple cider vinegar every day. It just helps with digestion. It slows down the stomach emptying, so it's actually good to let your digestion take place so that everything is digested properly. And it also helps to lower the GI. You know, we've heard about GI, glycemic index, but it just, the response of the fuel into your bloodstream is like a lot slower and like a more fuel injected with something like apple cider vinegar. But again, I'm sure there is other properties that helps with the acid-base balance in your stomach. Like, there's a lot of, your stomach is quite acidic, and you know, maybe the apple cider vinegar sort of, you know, helps balance that as well.
Okay.
I think it is a little bit, you know, I'm not quite sure of the pH of apple cider vinegar, but I mean, look, it's been used for a number of, you know.
Okay, well, I'll give you a taste then.
Lovely.
So if you guys can see through here, you'll see a lot of weeds, and that garden bed on the left is, or on your right probably, that's going to be a test bed, and I've deliberately left it unweeded. So that's my next video. If you're wondering why that bed is so awful.
It's Mr. Grassy Head.
Yeah. So these are the...
So these, what sort of...
Oh, what I'll do, I've got 2 cameras set up. Let me know if you think this is cool. We'll switch to this so that you can see a bit of an overall. Hopefully that works. And then I'll have a look at some of the comments. I apologise that I'm not monitoring the comments, you know, incessantly, because I just simply can't. But I'll keep looking back, and I have been reading them. But yeah, let me know if you like that overhead cam.
So what is this? These are like little...
Yeah, yeah, mostly little ones.
What is the difference between like a gherkin and your big cucumbers?
Well, a gherkin is really, there you go, I'll put it back to the other camera. A gherkin is really just a small cucumber. Oh. That's about it. That one there's a Lebanese, and you don't typically pickle Lebanese cucumbers because they're not as crunchy. You can get better cucumbers that are more crunchier, but they're still beautiful in flavour, so they're a bit softer.
That is beautiful. This reminds me of those skewers with a piece of cheese, a piece of cabanossi, and a piece of this in the 1980s. Oh, it's coming back to me. That was yummy. So what is actually in? It's just vinegar?
Yeah, just vinegar and water. In that there's dill, so dill and garlic.
Oh my God, that's beautiful.
That's pretty much it.
That is so...
So you're just getting a bit of extra flavour from the garlic and the dill. You got to leave it for about 2 weeks at least, but they're about a month old or two.
And no sugar?
No sugar.
That is, and they are so sweet.
Yeah.
Like that is just...
Yeah.
Oh, that is beautiful.
But yeah, they're not as crunchy because I haven't used the crunchy type of pickle. There's some that are crunchy actually, but I've just used whatever. I don't really care that much. But I'll give you a taste of the butter pickles. They do have sugar in them.
What do you use the little ones that I've just eaten for, like apart from just having a nibble?
Oh, well, like you said, antipastos, cheeses, put them on a skewer, you know.
Beautiful. So I'm trying to encourage people, you know, I do have a lot of patients who just will not have a carrot or green beans or, you know, and nibble on, they don't like vegetables, they don't like salads. So, you know, I mean, maybe they weren't exposed when they were younger, but I'm trying to get them to eat things. Now, putting a little bit of vinegar, it's a sauce that's not, you know, going to cause too much problems in your body, and to encourage people to eat them, they're beautiful.
Yeah. I'm glad you like them. I mean, the boys love them too. I like to hide that jar basically because now they're onto the vinegar ones after they've smashed all the fermented ones.
Lucky boys.
The fermented ones, I wish I could have given you a taste. I was a bit dirty that they ate them all.
You went to your fridge and went, what the?
Yeah.
Kate's coming up. No,
but
right, next year.
Anyway, yeah, because there is a real difference in taste.
Okay.
And a lot of people prefer the fermented ones over the vinegar ones any day.
Really? They are beautiful.
So these are whatever, you know, they're mix of Lebanese, they're mix of pickling cucumbers and that type of thing. I can't remember. I think one was called a Mighty something. And there's even white ones. And we've got a white one growing behind us that I'll show you in a second. But so I don't really worry too much about using the same cucumber or anything.
No. What's the orange?
The orange is an orange chili.
Okay.
It's a serrano, an orange serrano chili. It's not too hot, but there's also onion in here.
Yep.
There's mustard, so a mustard seed.
I can see that.
A fresh mustard, organic mustard seed actually. And they're not our mustard seeds, but I am going to be growing this one. And because it's a yellow mustard seed, a little hard to get hold of. And I've got the brown and black mustard seeds here that I grow. They're not as tasty as the yellow. And turmeric as well, plus the sugar to sort of balance out that bitterness of the turmeric. But I'll see if you can see that. But anyway, I'll tell you where I got the recipe from. So there you go.
This is different
to the other one you just had. Totally different.
It is. Do you know, it tastes like something you'd put on a burger.
It is, yeah.
Like I just go,
we love
should I know what it tastes like being on a burger? Absolutely.
We love it on a burger, yeah.
Oh gosh, it's absolutely amazing.
It's not too hot, is it?
No.
You probably can't taste the heat at all.
No.
Yeah, it's balanced out nicely.
That is beautiful.
Now, I got the recipe from, I don't know, you guys might follow him. He's a pretty big YouTuber, Food Wishes. I like him because he never shows his face, but he kind of talks like this. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to show you a really cool pickle recipe. Don't get too concerned. It's going to be a little bit complicated, but I'll walk you through it. Don't worry too much. And I just love his tone. Anyway, that's Food Wishes. So if you go to Butter Pickles or Sliced Butter Pickles on his channel, yeah, you'll see this recipe, and it's I've pretty much done it the same as what he did.
So butter is because it's got a creaminess to it. And what gives it?
These have been sitting a good 2 months.
Yeah.
So they're really absorbed with all the flavours.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Beautiful. Well, I'll be.
Well, I think it's the turmeric that really tips them off.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But it does. It just leaves a lovely. That would just add. Like you could put that with some cheese. Like so anything cheesy, you could even cut up little pieces of that and put it through a pasta, and that is just delightful. So yeah, I mean, I think everything that tastes nice takes a little bit of effort. Sorry.
No, you're right. Yeah, keep going.
So
yeah, so these are a white one that's behind us.
Yep.
They're good for pickling when they're young. If you get a specific pickling cucumber that's white, you've got to be careful because they get bitter once they're about 10 centimetres long.
Okay.
And I don't like them because I often leave a lot of them go bigger so I can use them in salads and all that. And you don't want the bitter ones because they're specific pickling gherkin ones only.
Right.
So be careful not to get them. This is, I forget what the name of it is, but it's a white one that doesn't get bitter as it gets older. And then this other one, I'll get a good one. It's getting a bit
I didn't
old.
even know that these exist.
It's a brown one. It's called a puna. It's from India. I know where it gets the name. I've said that joke before.
Exactly. You're the one that's talking about the poo. But like a puna, P-O-O-N-A? Puna?
Yeah, P-O-O-N-A. Yes, that's it.
Wow.
Well, puna, I've never grown these before. This is the first time, but they're supposed to handle the heat better than any other cucumber.
Right.
That's why I grew them, hoping that I could grow them into summer.
Yeah.
Puna Kahira, K-H-E-E-R-A.
Okay, beautiful.
Yeah, they have fairly tough skin on them. They're like a watermelon almost, but when they're younger, the skin's not a problem. But they taste really good, really nice.
So you can eat them like a raw cucumber?
Yeah, like a normal cucumber. Oh, they are a cucumber.
Yeah, because I've never seen those in any, even like big supermarkets or like, your local sort of fruit and veg place. I haven't seen them. Maybe they are there and I just haven't.
No, I don't reckon you've seen them.
I love when you grow things that you just can't get.
I just like trying to, every year I try to grow something I've never grown before.
Yep.
So I get online. I mean, the internet is the best thing for modern gardeners now, modern food gardeners, because we can track down all these beautiful, wonderful seeds and plants that you just can't get from the supermarket. I mean, they're very risk averse, is it?
Yeah, risk averse. They are, because if they had those out, people go, I don't know what that is. They're not going to buy them.
Yeah, that's right.
So it goes to waste.
So they'll just keep selling us the generics.
Yeah.
Rarely do they have. I remember when dragon fruits slowly came into the supermarket.
Yeah.
And you'd see them rotten on the shelves. Really, a lot of people didn't know what they are, and now they're too expensive to buy.
Oh.
Yeah. So I guess if this is going to be, if they're going to have these types of items, they're probably too expensive to buy now anyway, because they're exclusive type, rare items that they have to put the price up for. Yeah.
Everything is price driven, so.
Yeah, but
beautiful.
But anyway, yeah, so we still got some cucumbers going. I mean, I could walk people over to that other side where the Lebanese cucumbers are just about finished, and show them the transition crop. And give them an explanation of that transition crop going into winged peas, like an asparagus pea it's called. So yeah, we'll do it, hey?
Yeah,
we'll just move over.
Absolutely. Well, he's getting his. Yeah, I like the fact that you've always got something moving into something else. Like when one sort of item is dying off and you go into, and I didn't even know about these asparagus peas, but again, it's playing around with garden beds that would otherwise lie empty and dormant and putting something in there. I mean, I come here up from Brisbane, and the minute you walk in here, the smells, the sounds, the look of everything is just so beautiful. We've got one deck which we grow, a very small sort of selection of things, and I've got a couple of citrus trees out the back, and that's it. But it's still mine. It's still growing, and we're still putting that on the plate at night, and you know, it's something that I've grown myself, which is lovely.
It is.
And Paul, thank you. Paul.
Yeah. You know, it is very satisfying.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, Nikki asked if I prune my cucumbers. I don't prune them. No, I just let them do their thing. I know other people prune them. If you want to prune them to get them branching out better and get more cukes, that's fine. I just plant more plants because, you know, they're pretty easy. Yeah.
Yep.
And just let them, I sometimes train them though. And this other trellis that I'll take you over to is an easier way to train them without having to tie them. So we'll go over there now and I'll show you what I mean. Hopefully it won't disrupt things too much. I'll switch you to the overhead and you can see exactly what we're doing. What are you eating?
I've just snitched another tomato off your plant.
Oh, did you?
Well, you said that they're almost gone. They're beautiful.
Okay. Let's go there. I think that should be pretty nice.
So why do some of these, like, I know in some stores they have, like, you know, the not so perfect fruit and not so perfect vegetables.
Yeah.
And people shy away from that. Like this poor little dude here.
Yes.
Can I pick him off?
Yeah. Even there's a few on the ground where unfortunately it's the end of the season and we've had our fill on cucumbers. I leave a lot of these rot out and then I keep the seed and plant them next season.
But you see, yeah, so why do some vegetables grow in funny shapes, weird shapes? What is it like?
Well, this one here looks like it's been stung.
Oh, okay.
So it was probably stung earlier on by a fruit fly. The fruit fly generally don't develop too much in the fruit unless they get really old.
Right.
The acidity in cucumbers or something prevents the fruit fly larvae from really going berserk inside cucumbers, but they will get stung and that sting has to heal up and scab over and then that can deform the fruit.
Right.
Anything can deform it. It can be a pollination issue, like you'll get some apples and citrus and that'll look a bit skew-if, capsicum, because it hasn't pollinated properly. That might have been a cold snap when they were starting to form.
Okay.
But yeah, often a pest will sting it and then it'll be deformed from that, or it just could be a natural deformity. Yeah.
There you go.
But of course, they're all fantastic to eat.
Yeah, you still
maybe not this one now, but yeah.
Yeah.
But anyway, you can see how this is a lean-to. I'll be doing a video on this later. But it's coming out. Originally, I was going to put this in the end of the garden bed here, and if you can imagine it, it would have been a lean-to over the garden bed and it'd take up all that garden bed space. And then I thought I'd grow some lettuce or something underneath it. And then you'd have the cucumbers as they are. They're just dropping underneath there, so they're easy to pick. But I thought, you know what? That just takes up a whole heap of space and I probably wouldn't be able to grow much underneath them anyway because it'd get shaded out. So I thought I'll just move it forward. I can still get my ride on past here. I can still walk past. I get easier access to pick the cucumbers. And the other thing is, on this angle out here, this lean-to type trellis, I don't have to tie the cucumbers up. They just naturally grew their way up. And they're dying all back now, but earlier on, and when I do my proper video, I will show you guys the plant in its glory. But yeah, at the end of the day, it was really little effort to grow them up this lean-to trellis. And now that we've got summer kicking in, this cucumber plant is dying, but it's getting replaced by this big bushy asparagus pea, and here's a fairly mature one.
So you can just eat it straight off the...
Oh, well, maybe not that one. I'll see if I can find you a smaller one, because they can get a bit chewy when they're getting older. But these are about, here's a smaller one. Yeah, you can just bite the end off it or whatever. It's just like a pea.
Pea, but a bit of asparagus.
Like asparagus.
Like asparagus, yeah. Like, that's yummy.
A little bit peppery.
Oh, I love the texture. That's yum.
Yeah. So as they get older, they'll have a little round seed in them, and they get too old, obviously, to eat. But
this small fruit of just that's sweet, juicy salads, stir fries.
Yeah, exactly. And they love the heat. They love summer. They love the hotter the better. So it's a great replacement because you can't grow peas and a lot of beans you can't grow now here because it's just way too hot. But this is the substitute, and if you plant them, like I sowed the seed as this crop here was dying off of cucumbers, now it's just going to get taken over in a complete transition. They don't require a lot of fertiliser. They can live off what was put in the bed before from the cucumbers. So it's an excellent transition crop.
And so is this, do you know this in terms of like they are like symbiotic together? Like, you know, I'm looking at things that this is better grown with this because it attracts...
They're not companions necessarily.
Companions? Okay.
I mean, you could say if the cucumber was going to continue growing, the asparagus pea, being a legume, probably fixes nitrogen into the soil.
Okay.
So the cucumber could, in theory, access that. There's other plants that are growing in the back of this, like turmeric and a few other things, maybe a few tomatoes, like the really tiny Everglades type tomatoes that can withstand a bit of the summer heat.
Okay.
They might be able to access a little bit of that, but probably not. You know, as far as a companion goes, they're probably not companions in the sense.
They just grow well together.
Yeah, grow well together, and they just transition well.
Yeah, fantastic.
Yeah.
Fantastic. Well.
Yeah, what's the time?
Time is now 5:02. Did you want to answer any? Is there any questions?
Sure, we should go back and do some questions. We'll go back to the original spot, and yeah, I'll put you on to overhead cam.
So, as you can see us walking. And what made you put your rosellas at the front here?
Oh, there was just space there, and I'd like to cram things in and use as much space as possible.
Your little light's gone out.
Oh, that's because we haven't switched it over.
Oh.
There you go.
There you go. Look at me, the IT whiz.
Yeah. Where are we? Yeah, the rosella. These will get about here. You'll get the corn, that'll be up here. And by that time, not that it matters because it's a westerly position anyway, so as the sun sets, this tomato and the beans, I've actually got beans that are a bit sheltered from the sun because they're going to be growing up the corn. I don't know if you can see it there, but there's beans here, a couple of bean plants. I planted a few beans or sowed them about 2 every corn plant. So as the corn grows, the beans will start growing up the corn. And in the old days, they used to call it the 3 sisters. They'd have the cucumber or a pumpkin along the bottom. Then you'd have the corn, and then you'd have the beans growing up the corn. So you have 3 crops in one.
Wow, because it's acting like a trellis.
Yeah, I think it was the native Indians in North America that had the 3 sisters. Correct me if I'm wrong, but I think that's where it came from, that idea. And they all work well together. The corn loves the heat, but it shelters the beans that don't like the heat as much. And it gives the beans something to crawl up. And the pumpkin gets the shelter from the corn as well as the beans, and they also shade out and mulch the bottom of the bed, I guess.
Yeah, just one big happy family.
Yeah, and then I've got the rosellas at the front here that you can eat the leaves as well, especially the young leaves. You want to taste one?
You don't have to ask me twice to pick something out of your garden.
This is really different.
Lemony.
Quite nice, isn't it?
It's like juicy, and it's got lemon. What does that taste?
It is lemony, isn't it? Very lemony.
Yum, like that. I think people say to me, Kate, salads are boring. I need something on my salads. And you don't need to add dressings and things. You just need some really funky tastes in your... That's yum.
Cool as.
That's really nice.
That'd be really good in a fresh salad, just to give it that extra tang. I mean, even as a substitute for lemon, squeeze over. But yeah, so you eat the leaves, and then of course the calyx. You can make the calyx into drinks, jams, wonderful, lots of wonderful things. Dry them, make a tea, all sorts of things.
Beautiful.
And I don't know if you know much about rosella. No.
No. There's some really specific things, but like I love going and researching it. But that's the thing that people put in the bottom of a, like a spritzery type of drink, and it opens up like a flower, is it?
Well, it can, yeah. The calyx isn't really a flower. I think it's probably the end of it.
Okay. No, clearly I don't know.
But yeah, it more or less will colour the water and everything.
Okay.
Yeah.
It must have some properties in it for something good.
But have you had rosella jam?
No.
Oh, you haven't. Oh, I'll have to make you some. I'll give you one.
Who's the lucky one now?
Yeah. So that whole bed there has got several different crops in it, and it's pretty much only, 1.5 metres wide by about 2 metres long, and you've got a whole lot of crop in there, which is why I wanted to position the camera here this morning, because it's talking about the two things that we're talking about, the cucumbers and the tomatoes, plus all the transition crops that you can have in it at the moment. Okay, so let's answer a few questions. Let's go right on to the questions, and I'll just read from the bottom of the feed.
We can see it is so bright here.
It is. It is shocking, isn't it?
Yeah, I don't have my glasses on.
Can onion seeds be collected for storage? I want to replay on my garden from season to the next. Yes. What you need to do, I can't read the name, but that's the question. Yes, you can. You just need to leave, hopefully your season's long enough that you can leave a few of your onions go to seed, and they'll puff up. I've got some examples. I'll go get one.
Run off.
Over to you, Kate.
Oh, over to me. Well, let me see if I can read anything. I won't know any of your gardening questions. I don't even have my glasses on. It's probably something about my useless IT. Is there anything in your garden that can help with my eyesight?
Carrots. Quick as a flash, carrots.
Carrots, exactly. And, is that for me? You shouldn't have.
Oh. So you'll get an onion. This is a leek. It's a beautiful pink tinge to it.
It's beautiful.
It's a leek, but same with the onion family. I've got brown onions that are going to seed at the moment, but they just haven't puffed out yet. But that's what you'll get. And out of that one, you'll get, maybe 100, 200 seeds. So you'll easily be able to just even leave 1 or 2 go to seed and collect those seeds. I'll have a little black seed, re-sow them for next season. Yeah, sometimes if the season isn't long enough, you might not get that growth. Like if you're going into snow, you might not get enough time for that plant to do that. Maybe you could bring it inside, put it in a warm environment, give it a bit of longer time to finally die off and die back, and then grab the seeds. But you certainly can. Let's something for you, Kate, so I can have a drink of water.
Actually, yes, water. I guess, has anyone had a lot of experience with fermenting foods or fermenting things that you normally wouldn't do, like fermented? We know tomatoes and cucumbers and things, and like eggplants, but other vegetables, that people have used. Give us a hoy, give us a shout, tell people, because a lot of what I read through a lot of your comments from the last one, and it was wonderful to see people chatting to each other, sort of bringing something. Someone had asked a question, someone would go, oh look, I know that as well. And I also have to apologise profusely that here in Australia we don't have many blue things, and blueberries on our Australian site was one of the few things that were blue. But I believe there are so many different blue vegetables around the world, like blue corn. That cracked me up.
Yeah.
But so I'm learning. It's just lovely to see other people share their growing tips, their growing things that from around the world that we don't have here in Australia.
Do you have a cellar for any of your produce, or how do you store it? This is one of the questions.
Oh, do you have
I don't either.
No.
I don't have a cellar per se.
No.
We've got a big pantry that we store our food in.
We've got like a downstairs where we keep sort of the Christmas trees and that sort of stuff. It's actually basically underneath the ground, and so it's not a cellar, like you wouldn't put wine down there, because I don't think you could actually sort of do that properly. But it's nice. It's a cool temperature and it's a consistent temperature, and it doesn't sort of go up and down. But you know, we don't, because we've only got a small garden, we actually eat pretty much everything that we do produce, and we don't buy things in mega bulk.
Just make some preserves.
Yeah, just and any sort of, like, you know, tomato chutneys and pastes and things, we'll keep sort of at the bottom of the pantry. So we've got just one door and behind things, so keep it nice and cool down there, and the rest in the fridge.
Full cream milk for the pesticide, or a fungicide, anti-fungicide?
Whatever milk you've actually got in your, I mean, the most ideal would be if you've got cattle and you get the full milk, if you get that colostrum, that is like just the antimicrobial properties of that are absolutely brilliant. So I know, we went to New Zealand on a trip once, and in one of the stores that was selling things for, you know, tourists, they had colostrum creams, colostrum drinks, colostrum. So there was a lot of, I think it's starting to catch on as an antimicrobial kind of elixir, so to speak. But yeah, full cream milk, trim milk, that's fine. Just your cow's milk, definitely.
There's a lot of people chatting.
Yeah, which is lovely. It's so nice that you actually create a forum.
Yeah, it's good. I mean, there's not a heck of a lot of questions for us, but it's good that you guys are having a good chat.
You've probably answered them in all your wisdom.
My wisdom.
Yeah.
No.
Well, you have.
Can you ask Kate, what are some veggies that are low in potassium? Oh, hang on. Yeah, potassium. Please, Mark.
Yeah.
I have chronic kidney disease and have to avoid certain
like your potatoes
foods like
and
bananas, broccoli, spinach, etc.
Yeah. Look, that's a really tricky one, and if someone's got chronic disease, kidney disease, I mean, it's actually limiting your vegetables per se. So it's like, you know, I haven't done a lot of like working in acute clinical in the like kidney clinics, but people come with, like, if their kidney function's down, I think that's on your blood tests, it's like your GFR, like your filtration rates down, and the recommendation is just keeping your vegetable to 1 to 2 serves in a day, which it completely, you know, is opposite to what we are recommending to the average person, because that's like 5 serves a day. So you need to find your fibre elsewhere, and you need to find some vitamin C elsewhere, because your potassium and your sodium is your 2 electrolytes that your kidneys have got to keep filtering through. So I'd probably see a dietitian in your local area that can have a look at your whole diet, because it's also dried fruit and it's also, you know, your bananas as well. So you've got to be careful of all other aspects of your potassium too.
Paul, I don't think it's your other half, but Paul has asked, could you discuss the importance of veggies, but with also protein, basically having a balanced diet rather than too many carbs and that type of thing.
Yeah. Well, look, you know, I always sort of scan back to when I was a young girl sitting around a table of 6 with my grandparents, and we had 1 chicken and a big plate of veggies and small little plates. And, you know, that generation lived quite healthily, probably not as long as we're living, but we are actually just eating too much. That's my first sort of recommendation, if we can scale back in terms of like the actual volume of food. But we still need half your plate is your vegetables, 1/4 of your plate's your protein, and 1/4 of your plate is your carbohydrate. Now, for some people who come and see me for helping them with weight loss or diabetes, etc., I pull their carbs right down, because do you know what? I compare the body to a car. This might sound a bit silly, but your body is like a car. When you drive into the petrol station, the petrol bowser is like your blood after you've eaten, say, your breakfast, which might be eggs, a piece of toast, and maybe a piece of fruit. So the carbohydrate part of that meal, it breaks down to glucose in your bloodstream, and then your body accesses that through insulin. When you eat too much, your body stores excess, kind of like jerry cans in the back of your car. Like if you were filling up your car and it had a click, unfortunately the body doesn't have a click, putting extra fuel in jerry cans and putting that in the boot for a long car trip is pretty much like when we store fat, especially in this visceral area, that's that sort of internal fat. to access that, when people say, well, how do I get rid of that? You kind of have to deplete your petrol tanks in your body to use this stored fat. So fuel, which is carbohydrates, rice, pasta, potato, bread, you know, cakes, biscuits, pastries, pies, but you know, we also use fruit, and we've got to, don't forget that alcohol as well. It's not a carb, but it's still a fuel. We've got to pull back on that to tell the body to use its fat stores. So pretty much that's like a very, very succinct what should be on your plate. So a decent amount of protein, 5 veggies, and a small bit of carb for the average person.
Rightio.
Anything for you?
No, a lot of people are talking between themselves.
Nice. Have you had some water?
I have,
Good.
yeah. But I think that we could do a wrap up there.
I think so.
Unless you have anything else that you want to add?
No.
Your socials, by the way, if you want to get hold of Kate, they're in the description below. But you can also have a bit of a shout out, Kate.
Yeah, oh look, I mean, I'm Kate Diprima, APD. I love answering questions. Quite a few people sort of contacted me by direct messaging and I responded to them. So it's totally delightful. Thank you. I know that, you know, I am relatively new to sort of the gardening scene and things, but, you know, I love, thank you for having me along, and thank you, Mark, for having me along. We've been friends for ages and have done a bit of travel together, and I just love doing this. So zipping up on the freeway today, coming up here, was a highlight of my week. So thank you for allowing me into your computers.
Thanks, Kate. And Kate's written a number of books as well. So if we follow her on her socials, you'll be able to then locate where you can purchase some of those books perhaps.
Yep.
Yeah, it's a pleasure having you, Kate. We're going to get you back again.
Beautiful.
We'll have different themes. I think we'll make it, you know, as regular as we can.
Yeah,
We're
love it.
still improving on our cams and our delivery. Getting slowly better at all that. We've got a fairly good connection these days, which is one of the main things that was a problem.
Mm-hmm.
But now that we're just nutting out a few of the hardware that we can have that can improve, and the vocals and that type of thing, sound
lovely.
quality, you know, hopefully we can look back at this and learn from it as well and improve for you guys out there. But thanks a lot for joining us. I appreciate your time. It's one of those things, it's an hour long. It's a long time to be watching us. For those of you who stuck with us the whole way, we appreciate it very much, and we'll catch you in the next video then. Thanks a lot for watching. Bye for now. Cheers.
See you.
Okay. Well, we're not off the live yet because the PC's just died. That's probably because of the heat.
Yep.
I would
But
say.
it's being live.